Hey there, I'm Sara Zarrella, a portrait and wedding photographer and your host for Wedding Secrets Unveiled. This is a podcast where we cut through the complexity of wedding planning, leaving you with everything you need to know directly from the industry experts. If you want to simplify your wedding planning while having fun, of course, you came to the right place. Join me while I guide you through your planning, starting from your engagement to your big day when you say, I do. After photographing for over 20 years, I am sharing with you tips and tricks to cut through the excess noise. Because I believe from the moment you said yes, your planning experience should be a magical time in your life. Here you'll find episodes that are fun, stress-free, and straight to the point with a fresh, honest take on the reality of what you really need to know about planning your perfect day. Let's dive in. Well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. I'm your host, Sara Zarrella, and today's episode is a very, 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 very special episode for the SCP team. Our very own Dan tied the knot this past spring, and so I just thought it was kind of important and just fun and just something that we should definitely do is sit back and talk to Dan about his wedding. We were lucky enough to photograph it, and, you know, he's here to always photograph you all, but this time around, he was behind the lens. Oh, no, he was not behind the lens. You were in front of the lens, right, Dan? Correct. So this episode's for you all. We're just going to banter together, Dan and I, and we're going to talk about his wedding because he is officially a newlywed, which, you know, is what you all are going to be one day, very soon, right? So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Dan. So for our listeners, obviously, you know, if you don't know Dan, then you haven't been listening to this too long. But Dan and I, how long have we been working together, Dan?
It's over 15, I think.
Over 15.
Yeah.
I thought about that at your wedding, too, because one of I want to say it was your friend from high school, one of the bridesmaids, she was talking about how long she's known you. Actually, no, it was a few of the speeches. There was a genuine connection throughout all the speeches was about your loyalty. And I just was sitting there. I'm like, yeah, you're just a very loyal person. And they're talking about how, you know, Brittany just has a very loyal man on her side, and she does. So, but anyway, this episode today, this podcast is just you and I just talking about your wedding day. And so for the listeners, bear with Dan because he's producing the show as he's talking on the show.
Making sure the lights stay on.
Fair. That would be really bad if we just sat here and talked for an hour and not recording.
That'd be not fun at all.
All right, Dan. So hit us up. You got married when?
So, yeah, in the spring. I realized after talking to a bunch of people, I tend to say, just so like preface this whole thing, is like I tend to say like, oh, I wanted, but really we wanted. So like don't be like, oh, well, Groomzilla over here, he wanted. Because kind of the way we started was I was like, I mean, like I know what works and what doesn't work and what is good and what kind of we want. So, and honestly, she doesn't plan stuff. You know, like I actually, I was thinking about this a while ago. I think I come from a family of not planners, but like growing up, we had barbecues and like every Christmas, we'd have an open house and our you know, people would come and it would be like planning a party. So like planning a party isn't as scary to me for whatever reason. You know, it's like, oh, we got to know where people go, where people park, where people eat, what, you know, garbage situation. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I don't know. It's just easier for me. Plus, it's you know, obviously the industry that I know pretty well.
Right, like the logistical end of party planning, you just kind of grew up around. And for Brittany, you know, that's just not that wasn't her wheelhouse.
Right.
You know, so
right.
I know what you mean by when you say I want.
So I'm probably going to say that a whole bunch, and I just don't want to be quoted as like, well, I wanted this and I wanted that.
No, but people have to understand you come from. This is also what you do.
Right.
I mean, you also you're many different types of photographer, but you know, you also are a wedding photographer at weddings and events and corporate events, and you also shoot video and photos, and you're logistically planning out those shoots. And I mean, you're planning.
You know what I can go into, like, because I wouldn't normally see the rehearsal day. You know, sometimes we shoot rehearsal dinners, but we don't usually see the rehearsal themselves, you know? And it's like, I know what not the problems, but like the hiccups. So like going into, we got married at a courthouse, which makes it sound like a courthouse wedding, but it was just the venue of the.
Well, wait, let's back up.
Sure.
Let's explain. I think this is, so we're jumping around, but I think, not to totally interrupt you and hijack your question, but I think it's a testament to you guys of why you did certain places. And this goes to what you were just talking about. You came from a family of like celebrations and parties. And so where you had your reception was where you had like your childhood birthday parties, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, Dan and I grew up in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. It's a small town in New England. Mm-hmm. And you got married at the courthouse, in the town hall in the town.
Town hall, yep.
Which is also where your mom and your dad work. And it's there's a reason. Mm-hmm. And then you also had your reception at Swift Gym.
I was going to say, are you going to say Swift Gym? Because it's technically Swift Community Center or something now.
Oh, they changed it?
I think.
Well, we're OGs. We're the natives of EG.
Yeah,
so
Swift Gym.
Swift Gym. But like, the thing is, there's a reason why you did that. Like that is where, like you said, that's where there was multiple functions of growing up. But anyway.
No, I've had numerous birthday, I just should say what the cake was. I had Ninja Turtle cake. I had a Power Ranger cake. That when that was big, that's what I was doing. We could roller skate. There were, all, people eating donuts off strings on, home videos are all, at Swift Gym basically.
So it's only fitting that you just go there.
Yeah, and they just redid it, so it's very nice looking. I'm sure if we looked at my home videos, you'd be like, "Ooh, this place is." I don't know. Wasn't it kind of rough at certain points? I mean,
it wasn't. I don't know. I don't think it was super rough. I mean, it's not like it is now. I think when you
it's very polished now.
I think when you say Swift Gym to people are like, a gym. Like I don't like you got it's, and you'll see the pictures. We'll put Dan's photo from his wedding, him and Brittany's wedding, on our blog. But you'll see, like, you won't even know it's at a gym. But yes, you got married. I hijacked your question. You got married at the gym, and where were you going with this? You were saying something about.
Well, yeah. One of the things that I thought was funny. Obviously, like we don't usually see the rehearsal itself of like, okay, coming down, and I was kind of like, who normally does the, maybe the officiant isn't there, maybe church people,
officiant, so the person that runs usually the rehearsal is usually, if you have an event planner, it's the event planner. Other than that, it's the officiant or the person that runs the temple or the church.
Right.
But if you have none.
Right. But, I mean, nothing against church people. Some can be kind of rough or, like, rushy. You know what I mean? And it's just, like, I guess I kind of took away that, like, you should pay attention because it doesn't seem like a big – I don't know. I'm talking about problems that, like, kind of are just hiccups. But I was, like, before we got in, our whole bridal party was, like, hanging out. I was like, all right, we're going to walk down because, funnily enough, they're right down the street from each other. So I was like, hey, at a certain point, we're going to walk down and do the rehearsal. And I was kind of like about to open the door, and I was kind of like, I got everybody in the kind of hallway. I was like, hi, so sorry if I'm going to be like, do this, do that. I know how it's going to work the best. So it was like, her parents, like, do you want to walk down? My parents, I was like, do you guys want to walk down? So, like, you guys would go first. Second, and then the dad might loop back. You know what I mean? Because that's, like, things you don't think about where, like, okay, so if the bride's parents walk down, that means the dad kind of has to double back to go, if that's the way you're doing it, right? So it's kind of like, okay, so mom will bring down grandma, and then dad can just stay back. Okay, cool. The other thing is, like, we didn't have a long, like, the courthouse is very, like, short.
I think it's 10 feet.
Yeah, 10 feet. You had,
yeah. Between the time that you would walk in there and then you would meet, like, Brittany would walk
5 steps.
And meet you at the altar. Yeah.
But think about a giant church, and then the guys, well, whoever, the one side of the bridal party is up in front, the other side of the bridal party is way in back. You kind of have to get, like, some sort of messaging system, right? So it's like, I was like, all right, so we're going to be we're going to be in front. That's just where we're going to start. We're going to make the judgment call of, like, hey, a lot of people are here, right? Like, almost all of them. So then I had one of my groomsmen run back and knock on the door where the girls were getting ready and be like, tell them that. So, like, hey, a lot of people are here. Are you guys ready? Also, if that's the case, that groomsman can come back. And then we had somebody with the girls at the end of the thing go like, we're good too. You know what I mean? So like that communication getting stunted can be really like, you know what I mean? Didn't we shoot a wedding where the guy was in the bathroom?
Yes.
And you're like, oh man, like if you just looked at each other, you know what I mean? Like
right.
If there's no communication,
right.
Guys are up there. They're just like, oh, well, I guess we're not starting yet. I can go to the bathroom,
Yeah. No, right.
But if you're like, hey, we're good, send somebody back. Hey, we're good. We're just telling you we're good. Anytime that you're good, because you might be doing other stuff, we're good. So like it was just like a confirmation of like, hey, we're both good. And we could start whatever at any time. And then it was kind of like going from which direction. So it's like we didn't have anybody that would like open the door each time. So I was kind of like, all right, the one of Brittany's friends opened the door, but have everybody to the side so they each come in around the corner, right? So I could see that in a different, without the planning, be like, do I open the door? Do you open the door? You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like giving everybody a little job. And it's just like, I don't know, it just runs. And I hope I didn't bark at anybody. I was like... No,
logistical stuff. It is, on a side note...
But it did sound silly. Like, okay, you go up and you get the okay. You come back, you get the okay. But it's like, it just works better.
It's the operationals. But it's funny, on a side note, I'm watching you talk, and it's just, I still to this day, it's kind of... I haven't gotten used to you having that wedding band on your finger, right?
Yeah.
And you did the thing that... So we always... Dan and I have this like not inside joke, but this joke where we always look at the groom, right? And all of you guys are going to do the same thing where... They play with their rings because if they're not used to having it. And Dan, you did it on your wedding day.
I did, yeah.
You so did it on your
wedding
day. Well,
the other thing, if I was going to give advice, don't just wing. My ring is way too big. Way too big. So besides that, I was a little nervous of it falling off. So I was like, ooh. And then I put it on the other hand. I think you scolded me. It's the wrong hand. And I was like, okay, I don't know why this finger's fatter or something. I don't know.
I didn't scold you that day.
Yeah,
you would probably have like, post-traumatic stress of me scolding you sometimes.
No.
I
think it was an aunt or something.
Yeah, no.
But I was like, this finger is just fatter. I need to stay on a little bit. I was just a little nervous about that. But,
So your tip is to make sure your ring fits before you
Yeah, maybe measure. I didn't do anything. So it was just kind of like... I may have Googled like average ring size. I don't even know.
You were too worried about Brittany's ring fitting her.
Yeah. Hers was a little too big too, but then I was like, you can put it on the other side of the diamond and then it will kind of be trapped there, right? Or is that the wrong way to do that? Yeah, what side is...
The girl's ring goes on her left. You're talking about like...
No. The order. So like her non-diamond ring was too big. So I was like, put that one further in, then put the one that fits, and then it will be locked in. That's probably the wrong way to do it, right? No, your other band is supposed to be out. Yeah.
It's funny, though, when you were talking about how you're trying to say that, like, you're not a groomzilla. So for our listeners, let me paint you the picture of the morning, okay? So... If anybody knows Dan, you just know he's just a really, really likable guy, and he's just a really nice guy. Period. End of story. Well, obviously, he's going to marry the same thing. Brittany's just a really likable girl and a really nice girl. Period. End of story. So, no, there was no groomzillas and there was no bridezillas. Let me just start with that.
Well, I think you were saying, like, she was very calm. I think she was calm because I took care of business.
That's where I was going to get at. Okay, so... Let me just paint you guys a picture of the day. And like I said, I'm not gonna drop this big bomb like there's this big crazy story. Sorry to disappoint, none. But Dan, right now we're at Dan's recording studio with this podcast, and in his office over here, he has some Polaroids that people were taking the day of. And I was just snooping in your office.
Jeez,
just now. I know,
snooping around.
Snooping. And there's a picture that just paints the picture of the day, right? You have a picture of Brittany. And she's just sitting there, and she's just smiling, and she's just getting ready, right? She's sitting down, and I want to say her hands are just kind of crossed in a casual way, and she might have some rollers in her hair or something. I can't remember. I didn't look at it that quickly. But that's the day. That is the picture of the day. Brittany was just chilling, hanging out. I think she was in one spot for 2 hours, getting ready. And Dan, You were making sure the cake was okay because you had Allie's Donuts. You were making sure the lighting was okay. You were just making sure all the logistical stuff was happening.
Well, that's the thing, too. So, like, we had little lights in the centerpieces. So thinking, hey, I got to turn these on before we walk down because I'm not going to be the first bird to come back to turn them all on. So I need to turn them on. It's just like little things you don't think of.
No, but you're
and then
right.
being like, oh, I got to turn all these things on.
But the point but you're right. The point is she was hanging out. She was cool as a cucumber. And not that you weren't cool. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that I think that's exactly it. She just knew everything was going to be taken care of. She didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So, but there were some cute things that you did. One of the things that and I wasn't there for it, but Amanda, who's another one of our photographers that worked together on our team here at SCP, because Dan was obviously in front of the lens, you couldn't really photograph his wedding. Thank God you didn't do that. Okay, FYI.
What?
Photograph your own wedding, because we've seen some stuff. Of people doing things on their wedding day that they just shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to do that.
No. But we've seen that. So a tip for a little advice is just let your wedding day be your wedding day. Like if you are a florist, do not do anything to do with florals that day. Just, but anyway, I digress on the side note. But anyway, I wasn't there, but Amanda was telling me, and I just couldn't wait to see the pictures from her, that the groom prep, i.e. it's not really getting ready photos. Sometimes we call it that. But, when she was with you beforehand, why don't you tell the listeners what you did to each guy? Come on, it was cool, Dan. It was cool.
So the Swift Gym had this big window up on this, catwalk thing. So I was like, oh, that would be – the one photographer thing that I did was up there's probably some great light. And it's kind of I don't know. It's not I don't know. You can see some floorboards and stuff. It's kind of a cool thing. So I was like, oh, we could get up there and I don't know. They can – do the normal things, the mock getting ready stuff. But so I had 6. So I don't know. I just wanted to, I thought about it a while, the week before. I was like, you know what? I want to have each of them come up and help me a little bit or whatever. And then in that time, I can just be like, hey, you were important to me this way or whatever.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
A little waxing poetic with each of my friends.
It was nice that you told them why they're special.
And I didn't have my cell phone out because I know that would have annoyed you.
Yes.
Hold on. Let me whip my cell phone out. I wrote notes.
No, see, what Dan's talking about is what bothers us so much is when people read off their cell phone. So speeches, vows. No.
I had a little notebook. But that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. Do not read off your phone. We've talked about this over and over again. It just dates your pictures. But no, I love that. You told everybody why they're there and why they're important to you. I liked that.
Except my cousin, I forgot, and then I told him later.
Listen, though, I think on my wedding day.
I forgot.
I know on my wedding day.
Sorry, Ollie.
Say that? Well, let's save the best for last, right? But no, I did the same thing on my wedding day. If you remember, I'm sure you do. I forgot to thank you. Right? So Steve and I, when we got married, we wanted to thank everybody, but we wanted to thank the vendors, too, that helped us behind the scenes. And I forgot to thank Dan because Dan was taking pictures at the wedding. And I also forgot to thank my parents. So there's that. But, that's what happens when you improv, right?
It's true. Well, I think I have a new appreciation for how fast the day goes.
Okay, so there's so many things I want to ask you about. But, we'll talk about that. One of the things that I remember on the wedding day before I get into my questions for you is I do remember you at the end of the night. Well, it was a day, that's one of my questions for
Which
you.
is kind of a different thing. So it was a brunch wedding. So it was 10 o'clock service.
To 3. 10 to 3. Or 10 to 4. 10 to 4,
yeah.
And so, which I'm actually going to ask you why you picked a brunch over lunch or dinner. But anyway, that's later on. But I remember when you... At the end of the night, at the end of the day, you kept saying to me, Sara, everybody's leaving so early. And I could see that you had a small bit of angiety about it, or maybe disappointment. Or
I was just a little bummed.
Or just sad that the day was ending. And I had to remind you that, and just for you just for you listeners out there, you might have that same feeling that Dan has. It's a very natural feeling. I had it at my wedding day too. It's just that it ends so fast. Blink of an eye and it ends. And you start to get people saying goodbye to you as soon as you cut the cake. It doesn't matter if you have a day wedding, a brunch wedding, a night wedding. If you have an Indian wedding where it's 3-day celebration, when you start to cut that cake, i.e. dessert, about a good percentage, like 30% of people start to leave.
Yeah.
And so you start to feel like it's over. But it's not. It's about an hour. You still have an hour left. So this happens a lot. So just know that every wedding that we ever photograph, the amount of people that stay to the very end is a smaller percentage. But yeah, I
was thinking about it too, and it was like a normal wedding. If it's at night, you're dancing, so it's kind of like an activity that keeps people there a little bit in a way. And
you still have people leaving, though.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. So if you may get some people that want to dance a little bit or whatever, like getting people that maybe would have left, but they're dancing. Also, normal people dancing, but if the couple's dancing, they're not noticing people leaving.
You're not noticing people leaving. But yes. So, Dan, that's my next question for you is, so I wanted to know why you chose...
Can I do one more, though?
Yes, go for it.
So I have a weird family, but...
Don't we all? No.
Yeah, right. So my favorite thing was my aunt left because she wanted to pick up a shift at work. She didn't have to work, but she picked up a shift. She wanted to pick up a shift, which I think that's hilarious.
Listen, she had to make the dough.
Yeah, right. She wanted to say hi to her coworker. I don't even know.
Maybe she just felt like she was dressed really nice that day, and she just wanted to go into work.
Yeah, probably. She left her husband. It just went like, I'm gonna work. See ya. Bye.
I want to know though, why did you and Brittany pick a daytime wedding versus an evening wedding? What's some pros and cons? Because we have a lot of our couples that do daytime weddings. I mean, obviously, when you think of a wedding, you think of nighttime, right? Just like you think of a wedding, you think of a weekend night. Some people do them during weeknights. So not everybody does a daytime wedding. So tell us a little bit about, why you guys chose that and some pros and cons.
Yeah. So we have... kind of our plan kind of went through a lot of like iterations. So like right off the bat, my family is definitely bigger than hers. We have a lot of friends that have kids that are like, infant to 5. Like at our wedding, there was 15 kids.
Yeah, there's
so we were like,
lot.
I don't want to do a thing. It's not our style to do something fancy in general, but fancy and then like, I think a lot of parents too would be like, oh, we're going to go do a fancy thing. I'll get a babysitter. And they probably would have been totally fine with that. But kind of that's not our jam. So we were like, all right, so if we go, we're going to go casual, right? Kids invited, right? And then like, if it's a normal wedding, we got to bring the kids home. That's another kind of stress. I was trying to think of a lot of different people.
Yeah, I mean, can I maybe put some words in your mouth? Because I saw you go through this process. I think that you were thinking a lot about your guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want them to come and have fun and stuff. So then we were like...
And I think that's why you picked it, because it accommodated your demographics that were going there.
Right.
Which says a lot about you too, FYI. A lot of people don't think about the people who are coming. You just it made sense for your family dynamic.
Yeah, and like I said, we wanted to have like I mean, we can go into that later, but like things for the kids to do and like make it fun and casual and stuff like that. So then we were thinking about the fact that we kind of have a lot of friends. Like she rides horses, so she like has like barn friends, and it's like, do barn friends or like people that I like, do projects with or like do art with, do I want them to come and like see the ceremony? Not really, So I was kind of like, wouldn't it be fun to do kind of like 2 different things, which is like, oh, now we have to plan 2 things. They're supposed to be, making it simpler. Now it's making it less simple. And I'm like, well, if we had the Swift gym, did a brunch, and then like either kept it going or did the kind of in between break time, and then you come back, and we have friends that are in bands. So we were like, oh, they can play, music. Unfortunately, one broke up and then the other one was on tour somewhere else. So like, get your flighty bands early. But we did have our friend come and play the after party. But anyway, so like at the time.
So let me back up though, just so that listeners know. Dan and Brittany had a daytime wedding, 10 to 3, and then they broke for a few hours. And then they came back for an after party, and they invited more people to their after party. Everybody who was at the wedding, the actual ceremony, could go to the after party. But then, like you said, you invited the people that you knew probably may not appreciate. I don't want to say appreciate the ceremony part, but
just like straight up people that don't need to see the ceremony.
Exactly.
Really? Like,
so you just did an after party afterwards,
yeah. So kind of the iterations of that was like, oh, we could do both at the Swift Gym. And my dad works for the town of East Greenwich, so he has like a special affinity for the Swift Gym. Oh, you can't have bands at the Swift Gym because there's probably a sound ordinance. I'm like, all right, so you don't want to have bands. So you're going to bust me about this if we try to do that. Okay, fine. So then...
Oh, FYI, see, there's always family dynamics, people.
Totally,
you're not the only one.
Totally. So then we were like, hey, down the street, there's this place that got redone. It's a bar on Main Street. So like, what's it to... rent that place, So, I mean, we can get into my whole conversation with this lady that owns this bar.
Yeah,
she doesn't listen to this podcast, right?
No, but I also need to get into. There's a lot. I got to get into what you did to your photographer. But that's another. That would be the next question. But we'll get into that. Go on.
What I did to my photographer. Jeez. So. Yeah, so then we broke it up into two different things. So it was like 10 ceremony, 11, 12 to 4, which probably was kind of pushing it. I don't know, 3 or 4. And then break time, I was like, hey, go drop off the kids, come back at 8 to the Greenwich Hotel, and we're going to have music. And Brittany's dad generously wanted to have an open bar there. So get drinks.
Oh, what's an open bar?
Yeah, did you pay? Did you? Oh, we were trying to give you a bracelet.
No, I didn't pay. I just listen. I came there with Steve. I came as a guest, so I just sat and let my husband go to the bar.
Oh, I definitely gave him a wristband.
No, I know. I didn't know because I didn't go get the drinks. But gotcha. A side note, so I don't know if I told you this, but the listeners...
See, this is okay. So I want to hear people's So it's kind of new still. So I'm talking to people, and they're, oh, it was so great. I'm like, yeah, but it was so great, but, like, what's something funny that happened? Oh, this guy farted, or, you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear some, like, good, I don't know, other stories. Oh, it was great. Come on. I know you're going to say it's great, but, like, who were you at the table? What'd you talk about? I don't know.
Yeah, so Steve said that he went up to the bar, and it was crowded, and, like, not for nothing, bartenders were always going to go after, like, serve the girls first, not the males, right? So Steve was sitting there, and your aunt goes,